Good evening, everyone, and welcome to what promises to be a thought provoking and forward looking conversation. Today, we are all gathered here with stalwarts from Ahmedabad University to discuss the future of careers, emerging fields, and industry trends. I am Deepa Rao. I head the career development and higher education readiness at the Lighthouse Learning Group. As we stand at the intersection of rapid technological evolution, global disruption, and societal shifts, the nature of work and the very idea of a career has been redefined or is being redefined rather. And what does it mean to prepare for the future when industries themselves are evolving in real time? How do we, as educators, empower young minds, educate them not just for jobs that exist today, but for the ones we are still in imagining it, the future, which we can't predict? So let's dive into our panel discussion on the future of careers, emerging fields, and industry trends. To help us navigate this landscape, today we are joined by three distinguished thought leaders from Ahmedabad University, each bringing a unique lens to the conversation around future careers and how education must evolve to meet the moment. We will explore this topic across various dimensions, from technology and science to liberal arts and management. And we will start our discussion with a few thematic questions, and we'll reserve time at the end for Q&A. I hope we get the time to answer all the questions, which I'm sure there'll be many. So, first on our panel is Dr. Parag Patel. He's a senior associate dean and associate professor at the Amrit Modi School of Management. He brings a powerful combination of academic depth and global exposure. With a PhD from Gujarat University and advanced studies in entrepreneurship, creativity, and business innovation from the University of Cambridge, Dr. Patel is at the forefront of thinking about how business education must adapt to innovation led economies. Dr. Vivek Tanavade, Associate Professor, School of Arts and Sciences, and Associate Dean of the Undergraduate College, is a scientist and educator who bridges the worlds of biotechnology and academia. With a PhD from the Cancer Research Institute in Mumbai and postdoctoral training at the Johns Hopkins University, he offers rare insights into how advances in science, healthcare, and interdisciplinary research are shaping new frontiers of work. And we're also joined by Dr. Mona Mehta, Associate Professor and Associate Dean of Arts at the School of Arts and Sciences. She holds a PhD in political science from the University of Chicago. Her research interests are in urban transformations, democracy, and youth aspirations in India. She has previously taught in the Department of Politics and International Relations at Scripps College in Claremont, US, and in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at the Indian Institute of Technology, Gandhinagar. A warm welcome to all of you.
Thank you, Deepa. It's a
Thank
pleasure to
you.
be here.
And it's so wonderful for you to take time out, especially after the end of working hours, to address our students. So thank you so much for that. Together, this panel offers a 360-degree view of the evolving career landscape from business and science to the humanities and beyond. So I'm going to get started with a lot of questions, but of course, feel free to, it's a conversation. So we want our children, our students who are attending this to learn the maximum from all of you. So my first question to you is, how is the idea of a career evolving today? I mean, the dynamics are changing. What major shifts are you seeing in how students view careers today compared to a decade ago? I mean, there's new and emerging fields. Does it mean we should focus on that? Or there is more of role evolution within existing industries, or a mix of both? What do you feel about it?
Yeah, Parag, yeah, you're
I
on
think,
mute.
Vivesh, you can start and then I'll add.
Okay, sure. So, from the way I look at it is that it is actually very, very difficult to define what careers are going to be available to students, let's say in the near future. And I'll give you an example of that, right? That in 1990, if somebody had asked a computer science person or an English language major, um, two questions. One, what careers do you envisage for yourself 5 years from now? They wouldn't have thought of what became one of the largest employers on this planet, which is Google. And Google requires both of them, right, for their search engine optimization and their search engine itself. And so the challenge really that I see for students is the notion of a career in terms of having this certainty or this predictability that these are upcoming careers, this is a good career. These have been disrupted by the pace of the change that's happening across, the workplace at a very, very rapid pace. And so I think the best option for a student today is to think that I don't know what a good career for me is going to be like, but I'm going to have a good career in terms of doing something that I like, uh, enjoying what I'm doing, and at the same time having a fulfillment, a sense of fulfillment because of that. Um, when I was a student, people said biotechnology is good, but in India there is no scope. Okay, and I went to my teacher, my professor, and I said, "This is what I've been hearing. Now I've chosen this field. Does it mean that I can no longer work in India?" Um, and he said, "Remember one thing, there's always room at the top. If you do well in what you do, if you excel in what you do, there is always scope." And I've never forgotten that lesson ever since. Parag?
Yeah, I'll also give an example and start. We have several students who have joined the banking and financial services space because that's a very aspirational one for most of the business students who either major in finance or marketing. Um, if you read the reports of large banks over the last decade, at the little after turn of the century, it was a matter of pride to add ATMs every year. So in the first paragraph, the bank would say that we have added so many ATMs. Um, then around after the financial crisis, there was a pride around adding branches. The bank would say we have added so many branches in tier one cities or tier two cities or tier three cities. Now silently, they've started saying that now we have reduced so many branches. We have reduced the size of every branch. We have reduced the number of ATMs that we ran. Now we are talking about 20 major banks with at least 5,000 branches each. So that's how the sector is evolving. So from traditional ways of doing things, it is adopting technology at a breakneck speed. And therefore, predicting a career is very difficult, but predicting a direction is certainly possible. That any business or any job opportunity or any career prospect will heavily depend on more disciplines than one, will heavily depend on understanding of technology, will heavily depend on how a person learns or continuously learns in ever evolving sectors. So these are the things that one can predict, but it's very hard to predict how a particular job in a particular sector will look like 5 years from now. And this understanding has been integrated in all aspects of the university level.
So actually, my mind is popping with multiple questions, but I am going to ask you one question now. How does the student choose? I mean, imagine this is without knowing what to do, and you are facing a buffet and of extremely delicious food. person like me would go and still stick to dal chawal. But our children today want exotic food, and you sample everything, but then which one do you finally pick without feeling FOMO or without even having that fear of making mistakes? How does one do that?
I mean, I don't, I mean, I can, maybe quickly say a few words about this. I think one of the great things that new institutions on the horizon, like Ahmedabad University, offer is this idea of coming in undeclared, right? You don't need to know exactly what you want to do. I think what you really need is an open mind and a curiosity to really explore the various subjects that interest you, right? And then see what gets you hooked, right? So when you are able to sort of, and I have to say, not all institutions have that kind of freedom, right? So given that we are a place like that, we allow and encourage students to come in undeclared. They can take courses for the first year or two across disciplines, across majors. We have students majoring in computer science, minoring in Sanskrit, majoring in biological sciences, minoring in social and political science. There's no FOMO. You don't have to feel FOMO now because you can do all of these things and really engage, your interests, rather than sort of stick to these watertight linear boxes, because I mean, one of the big disruptions in the idea of career is that there is no linear path, right? And so I think in choosing what you want to do, also the same sort of concept and philosophy, applies. Is what I'll say. Yeah.
So, absolutely. And I think that is one of the advantages of liberal arts and sciences, which allows for interdisciplinary learning and picking up choosing your majors at a later date. But from your interdisciplinary lens, I would want to know your opinion on how these trends, we've spoken about technological change, technology becoming a part of every course. There's economic uncertainty, there's demographic shifts, then there's also a green transition with more focus on sustainability. How do you see these trends shaping the future of work and life, and specifically in terms of values, sustainability, technology, and ethics? Who would like
If
to
I
go
could
first?
just kind
Yes.
of start, if we were to have this conversation 5 years ago, we would all probably be in a single room. Okay. Uh, Much higher carbon footprint, much higher investment in terms of time. Today, we are able to have these kind of conversations seamlessly without physically, being in one place. And this is just one example of how technology has changed things. Now, one thing we have to remember is that technology works when it's an enabler. Okay, everybody wants technology to be an enabler. And enabling a workplace or enabling productivity in a workplace means that you're doing things differently, but it also means that you have more time to do things that you wouldn't otherwise have had. Okay. And that's very, very important. So we talk about work-life balance, but 20 years ago, no one talked about a 4-day work week. Today, a lot of people are. And it's not because you get less work done in 4 days. On the contrary, it is making you more productive. And a large part of this is driven by technology. And the way I look at it, and what I encourage my students to do also, is to say that technology as an enabler then becomes a tool. And what is important is not the tool itself, but what you do with the tool. And so if this tool helps you, finish something that took you 2 hours earlier in 20 minutes, then you have time to do things that you would otherwise not have time to. And so that just makes you a lot more productive. And whether we like it or not, this is happening, this is coming. And our best bet is to use it to our advantage rather than, I mean, there's no way we can resist it. Yeah.
Dr. Parag, would you like to add?
I think I think you mentioned 3 or 4 things: sustainability, technology, and ethics. And I think you also mentioned values.
Values.
Yeah. See, sustainability was optional few years ago. Okay, so coming from the world of finance, there's a term called ESG. Okay, environment, social, and governance. It actually includes all the things that you mentioned. Now it is customary for companies to share their ESG score and ESG-led activities and the outcomes and the impact. And in the developed world, sometimes your low ESG score means you lose a customer. Sometimes low ESG score could mean a higher interest rate. And because of this changing world, the recruitment patterns have also changed. Average time taken in onboard and recruiting a new team member has really gotten very long. Because first you assess a candidate online through some test or assessment. Then there's a first meeting, and then there's a second meeting where more than one person would meet, and then there's a third final meeting, which either happens in person or Zoom, because every organization wants to ensure that every new person that is added to the team passes the test of technological know-how, is ethical, and has sustainable thinking. Because these are not optional. Even a small ethical error can be a full stop in a company's existence. And therefore, these three are like, in my life, I have seen that at this point in time, these three are at their highest point ever. So education has to instill these three things at the undergrad level. We'll talk more about it going forward.
Can I just
Absolutely.
quickly add a couple of things, just to build on this? I mean, while it's true that, we're all sitting here on a Zoom call, which more than 5 years ago was not possible. But when COVID happened and all of this was happening, and for a moment, people thought that's the end of schools, physical schools, at the end of universities. But not at all. So, in the future, what is going to, of course, change is the integral role that technology is going to play, but some things are going to absolutely continue to remain important, right? Our ability to connect with each other, our ability to communicate, right? Our ability to sort of, not be just one trick ponies, but be multi-stream champions, right? And I think those are the trends that I think the future of work is going to include, which will include hybrid environments, right? So it's why, we cannot lose our ability to articulate, to connect, to empathize, even when we are using increasingly technology in even in our classrooms now, right? So ChatGPT is a reality, but how do we integrate ChatGPT into our everyday learning experiences? So I think so some of these things we should keep in mind about the fact that we need to go beyond a singular stream and be able to sort of straddle multiple streams.
Oh, absolutely. I so agree with you. And I think I'm going to go back to some of the points that Dr. Vivek and Dr. Parag also made. One is that person who acted as a catalyst for you, Dr. Vivek, to take your career choice, the importance or the need of a mentor in a student's life. They could be in the form of a parent, they could be in the form of a peer, they could be in the form of a professor or a teacher. That's so important. And that again I think also builds the values and the ethics. And what Dr. Parag spoke about, the catalyst you talk about, one certain change, like what paved the way for digital money is the demonetization that happened in 2016. And then you have all your UPIs and so many things. And today we don't even have to carry money in our wallets anymore. But having said that, I'm going to go back to quoting the World Economic Forum report, Future of Jobs report, where it's talking about that 39% of core skills that you require for jobs are going to be abolished. You don't need that. But one of the main things you need is continuous learning and adaptability. But along with the tech-based or analytical technology literacy, cybersecurity, AI, and all that we're talking about are also the human-centric skills, creative thinking, resilience, leadership, empathy, what you just spoke about, Dr. Mona. So I wanted to ask you your view about it, especially in context of Ahmedabad University, where we are talking about interdisciplinary learning in a liberal environment, where students come and they kind of work with all these aspects, building both the human side and the technology side, apart from their core education area. I wanted to ask you if you could share any examples or initiatives from Ahmedabad University which focus on these aspects, as a combination.
I could start with two very quick examples from my own students. Okay, we had a student, Jaideep, in life sciences, did his master's in life sciences. So he studied biology, but he was a very, very, very passionate photographer and videographer and very good at it. And the university actually hired him for our own needs. Okay, he was paid by the university while he was still a student. Now, did his photography evolve over the 5 years that he was with us? That's a question I did ask him. And he said yes. And it wouldn't have evolved if he was not in this university. So what he valued was a environment that allowed him while he was, today we have a major called Performing and Integrated Arts, which actually deals with performing and visual arts. And so you can take courses in these areas. Jaideep, graduated a couple of years ago, and he's now working with a video production company and also running a food startup. So he still continues to pursue both his passions, which is life sciences and photography. One other example, there was a student called Akanksha. Mona spoke about our undeclared major, where you can come in without declaring your major. But you can also change. So Akanksha was an example. She was deeply interested in doing good in the society. And so wanted to take up social sciences as one of her majors, but she also came into life sciences first. After a year, decided that she wanted to do social sciences, and so changed her major to SPS. A year later, decided no, she didn't want to give up biology and came back to life sciences, did a major in life sciences and a minor in social and political science, which is what SPS stands for, and graduated. So our life science program is a 5-year program. So graduated with a master's in life sciences, but a minor in social and political science. Continued to be deeply interested. Today is working as a fellow for TFI, or Teach for India, where she's teaching underprivileged kids. And so you spoke about the fear of missing out. And one of the first things we try to impress upon our students is that an environment like ours, you don't have to have that fear. It is okay to make a mistake. All of us make mistakes. That's how we learn. And so if you make a mistake and we're able to rectify it, then that mistake is actually incredibly valuable. So, I mean, I would say that that's why having such a supporting environment which permits you or allows you to straddle your different interests. It could be technology and humanities. It could be sciences and management, finance. We have quite a few students from computer science and engineering who do a minor in life sciences because they're interested in bioinformatics. A lot of our life science students minor in psychology because they have interest in cognitive neuroscience. We've had an example of a life science student then going into IIM Lucknow and getting an MBA because she was interested in agricultural and business management. And IIM Lucknow was one of the first places to offer such a program, tailored to that. We have our BX MX programs where you could start off in one stream. You could start off in physics and end up with a master's in quantitative finance. And the idea is that we enable you to use your skills because it's okay to be passionate about more than one area. And we enable you to then combine these areas. And we believe that this is necessary. This is incredibly powerful if you choose to do so. Mona, Parag, you want to add to this?
Parag, do you want to go?
Or go ahead.
Okay, I have two examples from arts, streams that might be of interest to some students in the audience. So we had a very interesting student, who graduated with a BA in social and political science, but he was very good at coding, and he also took a bunch of coding related classes in the School of Engineering. One of the things about Ahmedabad University is that our schools are completely porous, right? I remember, our vice chancellor often said that, 50 years ago, or, even more than 10 years ago, if you were a physics student, you had never seen the Department of Sanskrit. You had never seen the Department of Music. Well, we don't have departments. We have schools where we absolutely sort of are like one, sort of integrated unit. So it's very common for our students in social and political science or philosophy to take classes in engineering. So this student, majored in social and political science, and after graduating started an AI startup, that provides services related to legal and social science databases, very niche sort of product that he created. Another student who got a BS in computer science, was passionate about Sanskrit. So she got a minor in Sanskrit studies, right? And she actually has now been accepted into a very prestigious master's program in Germany, which is an MSc in language, science, and technology. And, and this will allow her to do computational linguistics. She could not have done this if she had not done her Sanskrit minor, right? And she's a computer science person. So these are just, a couple of examples of the kinds of things that students can do and are encouraged to do. The BXMX program is another example, and we can talk more about it later if people want to know more, but I'll let my colleague Parag also share some examples. Yeah.
I think environment for the undergrad matters a lot. So we have now more than 200 faculty members who work full-time at Ahmedabad University. And then there are around 100 more who spend anything between a week to a semester as adjuncts. And these are faculty members, who come with different backgrounds, have gone to really prestigious institutions from all over the world. And they bring their experiences into the class. There is an office hour so every course, we have to keep a couple of office hours a week. So that's an open door for students. We have, in many ways, students end up getting close to the faculty members for work. So we have these undergraduate research projects. So all our faculty members are research active, and what they do is they call out some project for the student from their ongoing research. and very interesting students, very interested students line up for these projects, and they end up working with the faculty very closely. And a lot of mentoring happens during such assignments, because you do some work, you get some feedback, there's discovery of interest, what you're good at, what you can be really better at. And then at the end of 2 years, I have seen, students also become very serious. They have chosen their major, or they have changed their major and settled with it. Because our advisory is that by the end of fourth semester, you should declare and kind of confirm your major to finish the program on time, which is 8 semesters. And by then, students have gotten comfortable with at least 2, 3 faculty members whom they consider as their mentors. So we are not in the business of assigning mentors, because our environment is very welcoming, and anybody can write an email to anybody and actually meet within a day or two. And students find their own mentors, because sometimes their research interests are aligned. Sometimes students like the persona of a faculty member. Sometimes their target university is where the faculty has done PhD from. So there are many ways in which students self-select their faculty mentors. And then there is a alumni network, which is very easy to tap on, because this Office of Alumni Affairs can actually connect you with any alumni from across the world. And they maintain very warm engagement with the alumni. And so if a student goes to their office and say, here is a person I found on LinkedIn, can you connect me with this person? Because I can do it directly, but can you connect me with this person? It happens. So multiple levels of mentoring is possible. And I think it is very critical. I personally have mentored several students, very delicate questions. Like, should I focus on a high CGPA, or should I start preparing for GMAT? Now, there's no one size fits all kind of an answer. You actually sit with the student and see what the student standing is. And if preparation of GMAT today adversely affects the CGPA in the last 2 semesters, the mentoring would be that wait for a while. There's no need to speed it up. Right start is far more important than a quick start. So, I mean, I can go on and on. I can tell you like 20 stories of students who were undecided when they entered, and they actually crafted a very wonderful path into a meaningful career. So I think mentoring is critical, and it all depends on the environment more than the systems and processes. So that kind of environment we have created, and by the grace of God, we have been able to create it, and students are really benefiting from the same.
That's wonderful. So here I have one question. Unless, of course, Dr. Mona, do you have something more to add? Okay. So what is the role of parents here? I'm myself also an Indian parent. I have 3 kids, okay? And whether we like it or not, we moon around our kids, okay? And career decisions are family decisions. Okay, though we say, there is this, you end up saying, जो करना है करो बेटा, जिसमें खुशी मिलती है. But even in that, you kind of, उसमें भी you are kind of figuring out, अच्छा, try this, try this, try this. This helicopter parenting is very common. I also plead guilty of it, not all the time, but for certain moments. So how do you deal with parents when these kids come in?
So Vivek has 2 children in college. I have one daughter in college, and Mona has 2 kids in school. So I think all of us will be able to give you different perspectives. So I think Vivek should start.
So, my elder son studies at Ahmedabad University. He made his own choice. Okay. He had good reasons for choosing the university. And none of those reasons was that I was there. Okay. So he was interested in cognitive neuroscience. And so he wanted a combination of biology and psychology. And there are no programs in India that offer this kind of combination. So he was looking at the US, but eventually we decided that he would do his undergrad here because it does offer very good value. And this was one of the places where he could do a major in biology or life sciences and a minor in psychology. And he's actually working in a cognitive neuroscience lab of a colleague here at Ahmedabad. So that kind of attracted him, to this environment. Um, we all deal with parents, and being parents ourselves, we understand the anxiety that parents have towards their students, towards their kids, as they uh, become students. One of the things that we tell parents is that we tell them two things. In our orientation, we tell them that your child is going to spend a lot of time in the university. But don't worry, that time is spent constructively. There are many things to do, and it's not only academics. It's also, we are looking at the overall development of the child. This is a very tricky age where you are turning, from what they call now, I think, a tweener to uh, an adult. And we understand that, and we want to support you in that. And we want you to use your time constructively. And so don't worry if your child spends a lot of time at the university. And that actually helps these children in making decisions, which are very important decisions. So choosing a major is one of them. So my office actually deals with uh, undergrads who come in undeclared, and so they're housed in my office. And when they declare their majors, they go on to the respective schools. And I talk to every single one of them before I approve their declaration of major, and I do ask them, are you making an informed choice? How did you arrive at this choice? What helped you? And invariably, this is a very important decision for the child, and invariably it turns out that after a year or a year and a half, they have spoken to so many people in the university that when they talk to their parents, they go prepared.
Oh, wow.
It's like, I want to do this because I've spoken to this faculty member. He runs a research lab here. I've spoken to this student, 5 students who are working in that lab. I've spoken to my student Mitra. I've spoken to somebody who is a year senior to me and took a similar decision. And these are all the inputs that I got. And now I'm able to make this decision in a very informed manner because of all the inputs that I kind of got. And it was the same for my son also. Of course, he had the advantage of being able to visit the campus. So he spoke to a couple of faculty members. Actually, he spoke to someone in the business school who was one of the top cited psychologists globally, Professor Ramadhar Singh. He went and had independent conversations with him. He spoke to some of the psychology faculty. He spoke to faculty in life sciences, and it was only then that he decided that he would come here. So, and I was very clear about it. And I said, look, this should not, me being here should not play a role in this, one way or the other. You shouldn't come here because I'm here, and you shouldn't not come here because I'm here. So take your own independent decision. And I think increasingly today's students, definitely they're way smarter than we were when we were their age. Okay, they're better informed. They're more mature. So we tend to worry as parents because we go back to our student days, and we think how difficult it was for us to take some of these decisions. But I think today's kids are much better prepared.
That's very reassuring for all our parents who are listening in also to know that, and to become independent decision makers at the end of undergrad is a big skill. I mean, that is a skill, big takeaway from a college education. That is wonderful, actually. Dr. Parag, over to you.
Yeah, I'll just make 2 points. So my daughter has gone to another city to pursue a 5-year integrated law program. And there was a big discussion. The good law schools are available in Gujarat and in Ahmedabad. She's the only daughter. Is it worth for her to relocate? So the first message to the parents is go where the good program is. Okay, I think proximity is important till the kids are in school. But then I think you should put the program, the quality of faculty, the environment as the top parameters for making a college decision. And sometimes parents actually undermine that and choose proximity over good program and all that I mentioned. And the second message to the parents is that, see, school to college transition has to happen. So we have to enable a school to college transition. Sometimes I have seen in my own family and extended circle and colleagues that when kids go from 12th standard, say 12th grade to a college, um, the transition just doesn't happen because of the choices we make and because of the frequency and the depth of communication for certain things we continue. The school to college transition becomes a challenge. So I think these are the two messages that I would like to give from my own experience. And I mean, it is a first-hand experience. And it is actually a challenge when we deal with parents. Parents ask, why can't you show me the marks of my ward? And we say, you have to build a bridge with your kids, build trust with them that they themselves show it to you. Now they are adults and you can't bypass them to know their grades. Grades are private. But as a parent, you have to build that kind of relationship with the kids that they share their grades and their attendance and their challenges with you from time to time.
That is so well said. Absolutely. I mean, in fact, as a parent of three kids, one is 23, just got into the workforce last year. He's working with SAP as a AI scientist, and I have twin daughters who are just going to college this year. We've kept an open environment where you can come and declare if you've got zero also and you've got 100%, the reactions are going to be the same. There's no difference at all. So that is so important to have that comfort environment to come back to. And the second thing is to prepare the children for college. You can't expect them in 12th grade suddenly get up and go to college and become independent when all this while you've been kind of taking care of them really closely. I mean, I can use more words for that, but I guess you get the point. So preparing them for college is something that I also focused on in right after 10th, 11th and 12th, where you start doing your own things little by little by little to make them ready for college. That would be my message as a counselor and a parent also, and similar to what you have said also. I'm going to ask a question which is on behalf of our audience here. This is going to be a random question because when we talk about liberal arts and sciences, and say there's a lot of pressure of marks in grade 10, that you must be knowing that, right? In 10th, suddenly the entire focus is on how much you're getting in boards, and even neighbors who you don't know end up coming and asking how much you got, which is like crazy, but that's what happens. So after those marks, because of the pressure of marks, many kids who like sciences also tend to drop it, thinking, taking commerce or art subject is easier to score. Now, is it too random to think that they can come to a university like Ahmedabad University and go back to their passion of science? Will the university teach them from scratch?
Absolutely. So we've had a couple of cases, examples where uh, this has happened. Now, one thing you have to realize is that 2 years, so until 10th, unfortunately, our schooling system requires the child to make a decision, the student to make a decision on science, commerce, and arts in the ninth standard. It's not even, by ninth, they've already made the decision. 10th, many of them have to declare. And that's too early an age to really, decide what you want to do. What we do is we have eligibility requirements for each major. And if you don't fulfill those eligibility requirements, we advise you on how you can get to those requirements. So in case of the sciences, it could be a online MOOC course, or we could be offering bridge courses in the summer. It depends. Each major has it slightly differently, but there is always a pathway for you to kind of come back to this. Um, Putting in a little bit of effort that is required to kind of make up for what you missed during your 11th and 12th, specific to that stream. Now, you gained a lot more, with what you were doing, but because this is necessary, you put in this requirement of doing an online course or doing a bridge course, and you're tested on that. And once you have the required competence in that area, then there's no reason to stop you from pursuing this. We've had some time back, we tied up with our architecture school next door, CEPT, which is one of the top urban planning and architecture centers, and we cross-listed courses. And in my biochemistry course, there was a CEPT graduate who was doing her architecture there, and she actually took the course and cleared it.
Wow.
I'll just quickly add something for art students who have a similar fear for maths, and have dropped maths in the ninth, and and then I have sort of gone to college with that, and in some ways also limiting some of their future options. So when we introduced this very interesting BXMX program where you can do a BA and MBA in an integrated fashion in 5 years, saving 1 year, it's an integrated BA MBA program which would require you to know some amount of mathematics, right? To do the business school, etc. So we assume that these students have not done maths after the ninth, and the BA MBA program allows for students to do basic sort of foundational mathematics, statistics, etc., so that they can be competent to do the MBA part. So you can be a BA philosophy and do an MBA in 5 years. So that we do provide the coursework to build the foundation that they have, for whatever reason, left behind in school.
I also wish to add a bit. See, when we were defining eligibility requirements for our economics major, there was a dilemma whether to keep math as a requirement. But then we figured out that in many schools, in many cities, math is not offered. So even if a student has, let's say, 95% in 10th, they may not be able to take math. So we did not want to deprive such students of an option to join the economics program if that is their passion. So what we have done is that students who have taken math at +2 level and students who have not taken math at +2 level, the sequence in which they will take the courses will differ a bit. So we introduced a new course called pre-calculus. And those who have not taken math at +2 will take that course before they take the calculus course. And just because a student did not do 200 marks of math at school level, you cannot stop a student from pursuing a particular major. So that's the philosophy that we have.
That's actually wonderful. So you can actually work without fear of failure. You can learn without fear of failure. You can learn without FOMO, and you can learn without fearing making mistakes. So that is amazing. I am going to now touch upon the aspect of jobs. So we often hear parents asking about what job will my son get after or daughter will get after graduation, and how does university support that? How do I get a return on investment on cost of the education? So in a job market that is so placement obsessed, how can we guide our students towards purpose driven or impact focused careers? How do we make that shift?
I have a very simple answer to that. uh, placements looks at a job when you leave the university. But a career is not just that job only. And so we believe as educators, our job is not to get you a placement because that doesn't serve the purpose. But our job is to make you ready to prepare you for whatever career that you're interested in. Yeah. And I think if students realize that your first job may not usually is never the best paying one, but also your first job itself is a preparatory step towards where you finally want to go. Then I think they get away from this whole um, sort of quagmire of placements. One of the most common questions that we get when we talk to students at different schools is, what will my package look like? Yeah. And an answer to that is, don't focus on your package because that number is unimportant. What you need to focus on is how do you prepare yourself for a career that you would find rewarding. And that number could be, the package could be very high or very low. But remember, this is just your first job. And that is never, in today's world especially, that is never going to be your last.
Dr. Parag.
Yeah. So I think it's a tricky one because admission seeking students and their parents sometimes insist that, give a number. Average salary kitna hai? Median salary kitna hai? So we do give a number. So only thing is we don't advertise it because it is again, I mean, it's not in line with our philosophy. It all depends on um, multiple factors. A federal bank pays, let's say, 11 lakhs to an MBA student in Ahmedabad, but the same federal bank pays 14 and a half for the same job role in Delhi. It's the same person, same job role, different cities. So I'm actually averse to institutions advertising, their highest salaries big time. But yeah, upon objective inquiry, numbers should be available. So we do make those numbers available, and we say that 100% of the students who seek placement get placed, and these are the median salaries. But sometimes they are very misleading. I'll give you an example. When Byju's was at the peak, just before falling, um, I'm sure being academics, the story of Byju's, how it went up and then how it vanished. So they offered 10 lakh rupees to an MBA, to an integrated MBA, and to a BBA in the same year because they ran a competence test. Now, should I advertise that as my highest salary? If I was a subprime institution, I would have done that. But because I'm Ahmedabad University, I will not do it because that was only one student, who was picked by Byju's. Great communication material, but unethical. The next best salary was only 6.5 lakh rupees. Right. So I would always say that take salaries with a pinch of salt. Even in a place like IIM Ahmedabad, which is like Asia's #1 school, the highest package and the lowest package is a 10x delta. It is like 18 lakhs and 1 crore 80 lakhs. Now, this 1 crore 80 lakhs could be some place in US in dollar terms. Yes. Whereas this 18 lakhs could be some place in the home city. So there are distortions. Yes, it is important information if that really appeals to you. But I think it should be a small number or small weightage in an overall educational decision, at least at the undergrad level.
I completely agree with you. In fact, in some of the data which I was researching, I found that these days liberal education graduates are getting more popular than specialist education graduates. I don't know if you, so if you see the placement data of one of the liberal arts university compared to the data of IIT Bombay, you will see that difference, because like you said, what is people talk about is the highest salary, but nobody looks at the lowest salary or the median salary. So coming back to this, we have a couple of questions. One is from one of our, I don't know, parents, or it's a student, I guess. How do we stay happy with the choice once we make it? Dr. Mona, this is right up your alley.
I mean, I think how you stay happy is really something that only you can decide. I mean, first of all, are you happy is a question you have to ask yourself. And I think you have to, despite all the sort of guidance that we seek and the affirmation we seek from our family and, our peers, which has its own role and importance. I think ultimately you have to ask yourself, are you happy? And if you're not happy, then I think you should, I think it's very important for your own sake to explore alternative options. Now, I think the education that we provide, which is a skill set rather than preparing you for X straight jacketed job, right? With those skills, the good news is that you can actually explore many different avenues, right? Because the future of work is so dynamic and fluid. So I think if you are happy, that you will know it. If you are not, I think you should have the confidence to explore something else, and to use your skills in other avenues, because there are many places that will require those skills of continuous learning, of adaptability, of understanding the connections between disciplines, all of which I think an Ahmedabad University education will provide. So I feel very strongly that the kind of education we'll provide will ultimately will need to lead to a certain kind of a happy career path. Whatever that path may be, it may be very different for different people.
So I would
Thank you
say,
for, yeah.
yeah, I can see two questions. I think the second one Mona answered. I would like to take the first one.
Yeah.
See, we follow, while we mention liberal education, we follow a T-shaped model where 50% of the coursework is around breadth, and the remaining 50% of the coursework is around depth. So depth meaning the area of chosen major. So if somebody is majoring in, let's say, social and political sciences, about half the coursework will be in social and political sciences. If somebody majors in, let's say, business analytics, at least half the coursework will be in business analytics. And let me be honest, employers are standing in queue. So if today you want to hire an undergrad from Ahmedabad University, you have to guarantee a minimum CTC of 4 lakhs. Otherwise, you cannot participate in the process. And generally, and 100% of the students who want to be placed get placed. Because about 40% of the students immediately go for a master program after undergrad at Ahmedabad. About 30% of the students take a break or join their family business because we have a large business program. About 10% of them are still undecided or they are rewriting their entrance exams, and 20% of them line up for placements. And all those who line up for placements get placed in good companies across sectors. It could be a FMCG, to a tech company, to a startup, to a traditional bank, to a neo bank. All kinds of companies hire from Ahmedabad University. So I hope that answers the question asked by Ashima Das.
Yeah, I would just like to add to Parag's response that, as he said, we develop competency in more than one discipline. So interdisciplinary does not mean a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Interdisciplinary means you're competent in one area and you're also competent in another area. And so that competency is important. And today, most employers are actually looking for such competencies in more than one area. In fact, it is much harder. Just look at the number of mechanical engineers who become MBAs. Okay, and there's a reason for that. If you have a pure mechanical engineering degree and you want to get a job, you have fewer options than if you have some management expertise and skills which are demonstrated by your MBA degree. And these combinations continue to evolve over time. When I was a student, many of us went into biology because we did not like math or computer science, which was considered to be math heavy. Today, bioinformatics, which is an upcoming field, requires you to have skills in both these areas. And the median starting salaries, if you have this kind of combination, is at least 1.5-fold compared to biology alone or computer science alone. So it's not only that employers want to treat this, they're actually demanding these kind of combination of skills.
That's great insights, actually. And so on this note, I think we've overshot our time. So we have explored some powerful ideas today. I want to take this opportunity to thank you all, our esteemed panelists, for your thought-provoking insights. In fact, today's discussion has shown us that the future of careers is not just about keeping up with technological change. It's about rethinking education. It's about embracing interdisciplinary learning. And it's about preparing students for a world where adaptability, creativity, and ethical leadership will be as critical as technical expertise. From AI to the green economy, from soft skills to lifelong learning. It's clear that we are all entering an era where careers will be fluid and driven by both innovation and purpose. So, yes, it's time to change. So, let's carry forward this conversation in our schools, in our universities, and workplaces, ensuring that the next generation isn't just ready for the future of work, but empowered to shape it. Thank you once again to our panelists and to all of you for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.